Howdy guys, Rex here. How you doing?
Hey, how we doing, Jesse here?
Yeah, we're on the road here in between training gigs and the alumni party and stuff like that for Rex Defense. And so the video doesn't have all the cool bumpers and musicals in it. But we thought this would be a good time. We're hanging out with my buddy Jesse here. He's a dude with the Rex Defense crew, helps us out with the rifle training stuff. To kind of put our thoughts together, and we were talking about it last night, reminiscing. After I took my version of the fighting pistol course with tactical response. And I remember I sent a lot of my crew guys down there to take that, and a lot of folks from back home and stuff like that, and encouraged other people to take it, but I myself had not taken it due to numerous excuses, which were all, let's say, 70% of them were BS, and then 30% of them were semi-valid excuses. But as soon as I could sneak out and the timing was right, and I didn't have prior commitments, I did get my butt down there and take that class. And so I remember after taking the class, it was kind of funny how we're all so excited to get together and compare notes after taking it, because there were some paradigm shifts there, man. And it was a pretty good course. So yeah. Overall, but we're going to give you the good, the bad, the ugly, and everything that we think about the class. We're going to go through a whole list of questions. Questions and answers, and we'll just kind of share our thoughts.
Yeah.
You ready for this, Cowboy?
Sure. We got some questions here out of a book. So, who taught it? Who took it?
So I took the class in Sturgis, South Dakota, and it was with James Yeager and Tim, and Nate was there as well. They're the ones teaching it there, and I took it with Mrs. Rex. She didn't take the physical part of the course, but she was there for the lecture, and she observed a bunch of the rest of it. And then a friend of mine who actually is kind of a test subject, he'd be that guy that if you just grab a random dude off the street and just grab him, in terms of tactical training, he's not into it at all. A guy that's never maybe fired a pistol a few times before, a long time ago, zero proper instruction ever, mindset maybe there, maybe not, just a guy off the street, a buddy of mine, JB.
Yeah.
And so I brought him down as well and got him to take the course with us.
Yeah. My wife and I went down there and took it. That was really awesome for her to do it, because she hadn't fired a pistol a lot, and she needs to learn it from somebody a lot better than me. Definitely.
It's hard to train your own wife.
Yeah,
too,
and she wouldn't really engage herself when I was trying to show her stuff, and I wouldn't recommend that either. Just go get.
It's a weird dynamic,
yeah,
man, between husband and wife. You want to keep that stuff peaceful.
Yeah, they will listen.
So
better.
send them to some professional to handle it for you. Then there's going to be less squabbling.
Yeah, they'll listen better. We took it quite a few months ago. We took it in Camden, right up there at his range, and we had Jerry. And then we had Don Numbers, and I think James was there a little bit to kind of overview. But great guys.
Cool. Right on.
Okay. What else we got here? What did you learn that you expected?
So what did I expect to learn, and that I did learn when I got there? So when I signed up for this class, and when I decided to, I need to go down there and take this, I recognized that with my upbringing and my culture, being kind of in the western United States in terms of target shooting pistol, recreation shooting. My old man was slinging revolvers with us kids when we were just little guys, shooting, sticks out of the sandbanks and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
When we're fishing, when there's no fish biting, and shooting a lot as a kid. But I recognize too that that's just kind of recreational. And when you're in a fight, and from other skill sets that maybe a guy does have, in other deals, it's different than target shooting applications, way different deal. Way different than competitive shooting applications. And that's something I kind of knew was true, but I never did take a high quality commercial fighting pistol class.
Yeah.
I've taken, some of the government stuff or whatever, state government, federal government, whatever, military type stuff or whatever before, but nothing that was totally in a whole different spectrum.
Yeah.
And so when I went there, I was expecting what I thought I needed to learn, and what I did learn when I got there, and it was very helpful, was when you're on adrenaline, right? And you got to pull out your piece and get to work, it's a whole different deal, man.
Yeah, it is.
I don't know how you boys have gunfights when you're not excited, but when you're excited, it's a whole different deal, right?
It is. It really
Inside
is.
joke, sorry guys.
There's tunnel vision.
But I'm sorry.
No.
But I was looking to learn about the draw, because I had learned 5 different ways to do that from 5 different supposed outfits that knew what they're doing. And so they all have different like stances you got to take. Some guys are isosceles, some guys you got to like hold one leg in the air and then like whatever, I don't know. There's like a million different ways, and they're very dogmatic too on some of those deals. So I wanted to get more information from an outfit that has more wide band or wide spectrum experience with all these different deals. And so I wanted to learn how to like grip the pistol, properly draw it, and then how to manipulate the weapon properly for adrenaline fighting purposes rather than for speed, which is a little different. Sometimes when you're working for speed, for competitive applications, you're going to do stuff differently than you would if you were life dependent on it, and all of a sudden your priorities shift from speed to 100% reliability that gun's going to actually work. And so when you're in a fight, the priorities change around. And so that's something I wanted to learn on the handgun.
I didn't really know what to expect when I went down there. I shoot a pistol quite a bit at home, so I thought I was interested to see what they're going to add to that. And when I went down there, I realized that I wasn't like quite the ninja I maybe thought I would be. So they induce stress, and you finally get, if you've never, had to work with a firearm when you're stressed out, it's a lot different. So that was the biggest thing for me was when they're stressing you out, you realize that you need to practice more.
Yeah,
under stressful
and
situations.
different ways to operate everything, right?
You don't realize what you're doing when you're stressed out.
Yeah.
So, anyway, okay. What did you learn? What did you earn that you didn't expect?
What did I learn that I didn't expect?
Yeah.
Man, that's a good question. There's a lot that I learned that I didn't expect. There's stuff that I didn't know existed that I didn't know. Does that make sense? Like sometimes you arrive there and you're like, okay, you assume you know what you don't know. But what I was surprised is to learn that there's whole categories of things involved in fighting and combat that you don't know. Like there's issues, even if you've been in fights, which, we're scrapping fellas or been in different situations, right? There's still stuff that even like hardcore veterans, on both sides, police, law enforcement, military, doesn't matter, right? Find out in this deal that are very useful.
Sure.
And for me, I found out that it was, there goes the power. It's a lightning storm.
Yeah,
Reality, man. Good thing we're doing it on the iPad, huh?
Yeah.
For me, I found out how regimented I am in certain ways, and I ain't going past that.
Yeah.
And that can like make you trip over your own feet in certain situations.
Yeah.
How about you?
James gives a lecture that what to do like after you have an incident, with somebody, a bad guy or whatever. That was probably the best part of the class.
Yeah, the lecture is really good.
The lecture will like open your eyes and things you didn't even think about. Him talking about like in detail what to do, what to say, what not to say. That is powerful. I mean, I think he could just do that like as a whole class.
And owning the fight,
Yeah.
stuff like that was very good.
Yeah.
Even if you don't think you're going to learn a lot from the shooting part, which maybe you will, maybe you won't,
Yeah.
it's a good readjustment of attitude
Yeah.
in terms of not being a helpless little sheep victim.
That's right.
So, yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. Okay. What gear did you use?
All right. So, as tactical as I like to be and as cool as I would have liked to have looked when I went there, I realized that 99% of the time I'm not dressed in all my cool stuff.
Yeah.
So I dressed in like a dress shirt, basketball shorts, and like either like dress shoes. I think I was wearing dress shoes,
Yeah.
these shoes right here. Because that's how I'm going to be doing stuff in real life. I'm going to be walking around. I'm in the United States inside the borders, and I live in a
Yeah.
pretty safe spot for the most of the time. I do a lot of traveling around.
Yeah.
But I wanted to use the exact same gear that I'm going to be used if I actually get in a fight.
Yeah.
Now, if I was like a professional police officer, like maybe a different kind of guy who had different equipment, I would wear that.
Sure.
But like I wanted to wear what I wear every single day. So I had a Glock Generation 2, 19, 9mm, and I think it's a Gelco paddle kind of holster, a leather one, a real stiff leather one. And then I got an NSR mag holster deal. I don't know if you for your pocket.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on, right here. One of these paddle deals for your extra mags. And then I was running, what the hell was it, Fiocchi?
Yeah.
9mm. Yep.
Yeah.
And so that's what I was running for the class. And then I usually keep a few extra spare mags in my pocket, even when, like, for everyday carry. Usually I keep like 1 or 2 in the right pocket and 1 or 2 extras in a different pocket someplace. But so that's what I wore.
Yeah. Again, I just wore exactly what I wear normally. Like kind of like Carhartt, painter pants, cargo pants, whatever. And that's what my wife wore too.
Okay.
That's what she's gonna wear, because that's what she's gonna be using throughout the day. Don't like dress up in like freaking gear that you're not gonna be walking around.
Unless you're a ninja and
Unless
you
you're
wear
a
that
ninja.
every day. If
Yeah.
you wake up and
Yeah.
put on all your what do they call those deals? All the like the knight's armor suit or whatever. Dude, this coffee is counterproductive,
Yeah.
man. I'm sorry.
If you don't wear a chest rig, don't wear a chest rig.
Chest rig, there we go. Stupid heat strokes,
Yeah.
man. All right, I'm ready. Next one.
Okay. Next question here. This here. What were you good at, and what will you work on?
Ooh, what was I good at? Okay, so actually I think the lecture portion was cool because it reinforced a lot of stuff that my old man always told me, and that a couple other mentors told me when I was in that adolescence border phase of not ever looking for a fight, but not being picked on either. And so it was really cool to watch James expound on that because he has a whole different set of experience too. And he draws from experience of other guys. He's been all over the place, like some of these other guys.
Sure.
And so that was neat. So that's something I was good at, was maybe just the general being on the same page in terms of the spirit of it or the mindset in general. The other thing I was good at was like moving and shooting. I found out, like, you know, and it's not a contest. A lot of guys go to these stupid classes, or not stupid classes, but, you know, these training classes with this stupid attitude of like it's a gun competition and you're going to try to outspeed the other guy or outperform the other guy, and they're always kind of looking to the right and left of how they're comparing to everyone else. And we all do that. I did it too, right?
Yep.
But that's not the point of training. Like when you go to training, you don't have a stupid attitude about it. You want to compete against yourself, man, and improve. And you can use other guys as a baseline of like what can be done. That's fine. But you shouldn't be like, that shouldn't be your focus. And for me, I thought it was cool, like moving around, backing away from the target and taking cover and stuff like that. That was actually fun for me because a lot of the stuff I used to do before with pistol training in the old days when we did it real heavy was like running and shooting and stuff like that. And, you know, and that was pretty fun. So that's something that I already had a little bit of a knack for.
Yeah. I've shot like him, a lot of targets and things like that. Shooting the target was not a problem with me in any of the positions, but tactically, like mindset, you know, it's not really about hitting the target as much as it is like what's going on around you. And even like, should you even be in the fight in the first place? Should you be there? How to avoid things like that? Like, you don't need, like, just stay out of places that, you know, you think you might need a freaking to draw a weapon anyway.
Yeah.
There's a lot to it other than just on the range. But what things do I need to work on? Those things, you know.
Oh, and yeah, you asked that question too. What do I need to work on?
Yeah.
I need to work on grip.
Sure.
And just going through like, so the idea of moving when you draw is something that like, I think that like for me at the class environment, it's a little weird because you're shoulder to shoulder with dudes and you're kind of stuck.
Yeah.
And so like you don't want to run people over when you're going to pull out a piece and start blasting.
Yep.
When I used to train with other guys before, it was like there was a hell of a lot more room to run around. So for me to just get the idea to get off the X, to get off that spot where you're going to get killed and move around.
Yep.
But the thing I really need to work on is, and this is kind of funny, they have this deal where you like when you pull it out, you're gonna yell something, no matter what. And so like you gotta yell something that's not gonna get you in trouble. And so it's like a weird short circuit in the brain. When I hear a dude yell out the command to fight, they yell out this command to fight. I'm like, okay, fight.
Yeah.
And so I pull out my piece and I yell fight. But you're supposed to yell something like, hey, stop, or like, don't do it, or whatever.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
very loud.
Instead of yelling stop, everyone yells stop, and then I yell fight, and then I say shit, stop. So if I ever get in a situation, I need to practice that. Like, and it's funny, like guys don't take advantage of those opportunities when they're training because it looks a little gay or whatever the term might be. I don't know how you say that. Is that going to get me in trouble? You think there, Jesse? I ain't worried about it. You know what I mean. But it makes you look like not whatever. And so you got to learn to say something that's appropriate, and you got to train yourself to do that because when it hits, your brain is going to take that path of least resistance and go towards what you've done the most, right?
Sure.
Which is either saying nothing or saying whatever's on your mind, which you probably don't want to say when you're in a gunfight. You just want to tell the guy to stop, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that for me, for some reason, I would repeat whatever they yelled. And yeah, it was kind of interesting.
Specifically, like, they teach you at this class, like, you're not going to be a rock star when you leave the class with a firearm, but they do teach you what you need to work on. So when you leave the class, you're like, wow, I learned so much. Now I need to go home and like make that just
Now you
muscle
realize what stuff you might have been burning your wheels on,
Yeah.
and what stuff, how to apply the traction properly. A lot of guys are like, oh, I need to train before I go to training so that they don't think I suck. Well, that can be counterproductive if you suck and you're training wrong.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You'll develop weird stuff that's maybe not going to be good for whatever you're trying to learn. So it's always smarter to go there first and then learn how to. You train to learn how to practice properly.
Yeah.
So.
And if you don't take what they teach you and come home and train and practice what they taught you, it will leave. It will leave you. I'm serious. Like, you won't remember everything.
Yeah.
So you have to keep doing it. And what else was I going to say about that?
I don't
Anyway,
know.
well, and yeah, just keep practicing training. Like what they tell you, go home and do it. Keep doing it. As often as you can.
We should do it in that rainstorm when
We
we're
should
done
do it
with
in
this.
that rainstorm. Yeah, we should. Okay, what class will you take next?
So I would like to take a medics class.
Yeah.
I've had training multiple times, but it's not something like when you're a young man and you take these like trauma classes or medics, like at least for me, because maybe when you're younger, immature, I figure, if I get shot or someone else gets shot in this deal, there's medics. The 91 guys will come over and they'll take care of it, or whoever, right? Or like you just call 911 or oh yeah, I got this.
You're a long ways away.
You're not thinking about that when you're like below 25 years old. You know what I mean? Because you don't think that's ever going to happen. You think you're just like Superman kind of deal. When you get older, you start seeing more stuff, and you're like, okay, bullets actually do hit people and hurt people and almost kill people and then kill people. And so I think that it'd be really cool to take a medics class. So
No, like I just lost an old friend, and it took the ambulance 40 minutes to get there, and what he needed was a tourniquet. They were using rope, trying to use a piece of rope to get the bleeding to stop. They didn't get it stopped.
Yeah.
So 40 minutes for the ambulance to get there. Now we live in a rural area, but think about that.
yeah.
It's not just across the street.
Yeah, so if there's people who you love who are going to be within proximity of you and you don't know how to help them,
Yep.
that sucks. And I mean, maybe I know more than most folks on like a gunshot wound or something, but I need to get way better. I need to maximize my skill set in that area.
And don't think it's not going to happen to you, because I didn't think it
It
happened to my
happens.
friends.
It does
did.
actually happen. Yeah.
What class do I want to take? I've taken fighting pistol, fighting rifle. Actually, if I would have done it different, if I would have gone back and done it differently, I would have taken fighting pistol, which is what they recommend, and then I would have taken either the medic or the fight. I haven't taken the medic class, the immediate action medical. I have taken the fight. That one is
Mind blowing.
that will show you just how much of a ninja you are.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, but medical's up for me. I mean, I just haven't lined up with my schedule, but
Sure.
that's the next on the list. Okay, so let's see here. What did you learn from other students?
Interesting. What did I learn from other students? I mean, because that's like something that a guy doesn't think of that much.
Yeah, I really wasn't.
I learned some equipment deals because I was, when you have tunnel vision on your own performance, because like it's, anytime there's training with guys with the Y chromosome factor up here, and there's other dudes looking at you, and then of course, because it's the dinosaur guy, I think in my brain, Tim was like hovering like right here, like ready to get you, and so I don't want to look retarded, you know what I mean?
Sure.
And so that whole Y chromosome deal kicks in, and you're kind of you're seeing just like what you're doing.
Yep.
But what I learned from other students is the exact same mistakes that I did myself is what they do too, but it pounds it. When you see someone else doing, when you're looking at yourself from the outside in the same behavior pattern on what other people do in certain situations, you start to learn like, oh wow, is that what I did, or is that what I look like?
Sure.
Or is that like how I performed? And you're like, oh, what the heck? And so it teaches you like, okay, that's something that you need to really digest and let become a part of your new spirit and psyche.
What
Sorry.
did I learn from other students? One of the things that stood out to me the most is like not all cops are going to be as proficient with a firearm or the situation at hand. A lot of them haven't had a lot of training with a gun. There was two cops. One of them was had been in the force for 20 years, and it was really interesting to see he wasn't that good with a firearm. With a pistol.
Sure.
So to think about it, think about who you're calling to come save you. You are in charge. I think you need to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
Anyway,
can't carry a cop around in your pocket.
You can't, and not all cops are freaking ninjas.
Well, and even ones that are very well trained, you got to think about. They're trained in a specific style. Sometimes there's different things that can happen.
Yeah.
That where training can actually be counterproductive.
Mm-hmm.
Training scars or styles of training can actually inhibit you from sometimes.
Yeah, just because a cop shows up or he's on his way doesn't mean the day's going to be saved.
Yeah.
You're there at the scene. It is up to you. You can control the situation before he does.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
Mhm.
But
It does.
That's what I noticed.
Yep. Okay.
Okay.
I also noticed too, on another, if you're carrying a backup gun or something like that, I seen a dude with an ankle holster deal.
Sure.
And when you're trying to whip that sucker out quickly,
Yeah.
you got to be careful that it's grabbable.
Really?
If you're wearing the wrong kind of pants or something, you can't pull it up, and you know.
Oh sure.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes you got to wear. You got to.
That's why you got to wear the hammer
You
pants.
can't look super hot all the time
Zubas?
and wear you know
Basketball shorts. Pull your sock over
Yeah,
it.
wear the right clothes. It's your life. Think
Or
about it.
what I always do is carry a Mark 23 silenced with a flashlight on it,
Yeah.
or a laser module
Yeah.
on my ankle. No, I don't. Sorry. trying to lighten up and entertain you guys, okay?
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
Okay, what'd you learn from the lectures? Those are good ones. That was the best
Yeah.
part of the class.
If you haven't seen the lecture from Jaeger on that deal, it's powerful. It'll move you. It'll get you thinking, and it'll. So some of the other folks that have gone to the class that are on the crew, some of my friends, have come back and a lot of the people,
Changed.
yeah, a lot of the people that I work with, I choose them because they have complementary, opposite skill sets of me. I'm a big rah 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 rah, us guys, rah,
Yeah.
right? And so maybe we already kind of on that page or halfways, or maybe it needs refinement. Some people come from a whole different background, different mindset, different perspective, different point of aim.
Yeah.
And the lecture is incredibly powerful if you've never had that system download before, right? And so they come back totally different people. And for this is where my friend JB, who's such a cool guy, I love the guy, but he had an upbringing that was very different than maybe a scrapping kind of deal, right?
Sure.
And so that deal to him was and I could see it in his eyeballs by day two. He was he had a whole different perspective on the whole world, in general. So I don't want to spoil it for you guys. You got to see it for yourself.
Yeah. I would have driven down there just for the lecture after I know what he was gonna.
Yeah.
Knew what he was gonna.
So if you're one of these goofball guys that's oh, I don't need no training. I trained with, the police already, or I already took a class. I'm a competition shooter. Kind of an immature way to look at the world, in my opinion. There's always stuff you can learn from people, but I'll tell you what, and I'm a pretty smart guy. I know that. You're pretty smart too, and we both can say that it was good. Processing it from all angles. It's very powerful, and I think everyone should hear it.
Yeah.
I don't care how tough you think you are.
My wife, the same way. The lecture was
Really?
awesome. There's a whole lot goes on after the gun's been fired and whatever.
And I think for Mrs. Rex too, I don't know if she ever got that speech because she was raised with three. There's just the three girls in the family, right?
Sure.
And so getting that particular speech from someone besides just organically flowing from my veins all the time, oh, husband's getting grumpy again, yelling at stuff, or doesn't puffing up to the bad guy or whatever. There's a lot of other stuff you don't think of too, the heightened responsibility you have when you are carrying a piece. You're all of a sudden responsible not to be like a goofball when it comes to people wanting to like road rage, stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like
not
you
a
gotta,
good idea.
or like just avoiding stuff in general, because it's like a commitment to have to defend yourself that way. And so just some of these folks, I think, really got an eye opener from that, because this stuff you don't think about. You think about in very short term, like, you know, little increments, like, okay, well, I'm going to win the gunfight.
Yeah.
Okay, good luck in court with that deal. Did you do that properly? Was that illegal, a use of force?
Oh, you got to watch what you say.
And then were you ready to do that spiritually and psychologically?
Mm-hmm.
And if not, then you're going to die later in a more horrible fashion from yourself. You know what I mean? From not handling it properly. So there's a whole lot of fights there. And I think getting that speech for people who haven't had it before, and even if you have had it before, for me it was like a big reiteration of kind of like, okay, you know, you gotta charge it, you gotta change oil. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's see. Let's move on here. Okay. When did you decide it was right for you?
When did I say? Oh, okay. I can't say exactly what it is.
Yeah.
But sometimes, like, you gotta be super careful with firearms. And I know some real close people to me had some incidents with that, and I realized, like, okay, the need for proper instruction just on like proper drawing, you know, grip, pulling it out, getting it done has to be executed exactly perfectly.
Uh-huh.
And even though it's uncomfortable for me to try to be mean to people, it's, you know, sometimes you don't want to do that to people. You got to hire someone to do that for you.
Yeah.
And so, like, I realized if I'm going to be sending people around to get this instruction, right, of how to do it, I better darn well make sure that I know what I'm doing too. Because it's like, guns are designed to hurt stuff, man. You know what I'm saying? Like Marge Simpson said, guns are designed to hurt, Homer. Remember that deal?
I don't remember that episode, but
It's funny when Homer gets the gun and she's
Sure.
all scared. But they are dangerous, and so like when I realized it is like when I just kind of realized the responsibility I have for all the people that surround me, and when I encourage people to carry a piece, they got to be careful with that deal, and I can't just assume they know what the hell's going on.
Yeah.
It's too dangerous. Like if you just hand your wife a pistol and here you go, babe, throw this in your purse. Or, you know, encourage your cousin, like, hey, man, you better carry a gun, you know?
Yeah.
Okay, like, just like, it's not, that comes with, you got to take when you're flying a helicopter, right?
Sure.
You got to take the helicopter lesson first, because if you don't and you try taking it off, you might freaking crash it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
yeah.
Yeah. So that's when I realized it.
I think James came to the lecture day 2 at the beginning of the day. I think that was. It's been a little while, but there was 2 moments that the first day was when you get stressed out. I shoot a lot, but not under stress situations. And when their instructors are like working with you and they're like putting pressure on you, you find out where you're going to break. So there, after the first day, I'm like, holy smokes, this was not, this was tougher than I thought it was going to be, and especially my wife. My wife was the same way. Day 2 after the lecture, I'm like, holy smokes, this is one of the most powerful things you'll hear as far as defending yourself and your family and whatever. Things that you didn't think about, how to handle situations, what to expect from police, and what happens after you pull the trigger was really I didn't think about.
And you bring up something too, like in terms of difficulty, one thing that sometimes gives a guy hesitation, right? Like for me, like my health was taken off the table about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And so like bending over and jumping around, and I didn't know if they're going to pour water on your head or like kick you while you're trying to do stuff, and I don't know. And so like you kind of get nervous about, man, I don't know if I'm up for what they're going to do. And in those terms, I wouldn't let that scare you away, because like is in rough shape as I've been in the last 2 years since I got sick and all that stuff and all the surgeries and whatever, like my neuropathy, man, I can't even operate the gun hardly, you know what I mean? But they teach you in a way that's actually very thoughtful and very patient. And like if you're in a wheelchair, they take a guy in there, no problem. They'll get you situated. And I was able to make all the drills in the class without a problem. And I'm a representative of guys that maybe are scared to take it from not being like in their best fighting shape of their life. So if you're an older dude, or if you got some kind of like health issues or something like that, I wouldn't let that shy you away, because in those respects, it's not bad physical exertion, but psychologically, it might kind of rock your world a little bit, but that's the point. And so it's a good thing. I was kind of braced for anything, but yeah, absolutely. I think it's important to realize that too.
Let's see here. What else we got here? Why? Just a second here.
Unscripted reality,
Yeah,
man.
we're just rolling through here. I'll just read what it says.
Okay.
It is your after action review of the training. Take the time to put your thoughts together today, to together benefit you
Yep.
greatly.
So I think why do you train in general?
Yeah.
Right? So we'll go here. Why do you train in general?
Mm-hmm.
I train in general. I don't want to be left out on any information that could keep me even or on top of the bad guys, right? Or that, so like my whole mindset in terms of like carrying a weapon or being into firearms in general is defensive. Like that's my mindset. So I don't want to be ill-equipped to make that happen to the best of my ability, right?
Sure.
Once you got stuff you got to protect, right? Like the family, the wife, or like liberty or whatever. It kind of like, and especially maybe it's a maturing thing. Once you get old enough to start thinking long-term and you start realizing like what value we do have here that we've been given. Like we've been given a lot of stuff,
Yeah.
you know, like in this great country and with all the gifts God has given us. And like the responsibility starts really weighing down more and more when you get a little older.
Yeah.
And so the reason I've participated in training now by taking an instruction and always listening to those guys with the antlers, the bigger beards, the elders, right? Whatever you want to call it. I always listen to those guys because like the second I decide I know everything, I cease to learn forever. I am now so smart that I can't absorb anything, and that's retarded. That's not going to get you anywhere. You'll stop growing the second you don't think you can take in anymore. And so I realized just that like, and my old man always told me this too as a little guy. He says, hey man, like the wise guys, or not the wise guys, but people with true wisdom will realize that the more they really know, they know that there's a lot they don't know.
Yeah.
The more you know, the more you realize you don't know, is his quote. And so I've always had that kind of deal in terms of like, okay, I like to think of myself as this big alpha male with a piece, but I recognize that there's a whole, like if there's all the stuff in the world there is to learn about pistol shooting or fighting or combat with a handgun, right?
Yeah.
Am I so cocky as to think I know 100% of that stuff?
Yeah.
Nah. I'll admit, like, okay, maybe I know 90%, right?
Sure.
Actually, no. Actually, maybe even at our maximum competency, it's not even a fraction of like maybe a quarter of it. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
So even the toughest, best guys in the world, there's always stuff they can learn. And the mark of a true professional or a true expert is they're not scared to go out and learn from other dudes.
Sure.
And like even the tactical response crew, James Yeager, they're always training more. And as good as they are at what they do, they're always taking training. If you look at the tier 1 guys, the military guys, they train everywhere. Yeah. They train at the good places, they train at the medium places, they train everywhere. Yeah. And so like they're always learning and they want to know everything, because there's always different perspectives. And so that's why I train, is because I don't want to get left behind, man.
Sure. Yeah, why do we train? Don't think it can't happen in your area or to you. It wasn't that long ago Molly Tibbetts disappeared. I know that area. It's a very rural area, very small town community. Just running down the road. If she'd had a firearm, might have ended a little differently. I remember when they found her body, the police, the sheriff was giving a statement to the public, and one of the reporters asked, "Is there anything that women can do differently to prevent this from happening? Is there like an app or something that they can?" And I'm just thinking, did
app?
he just say an app?
Yeah.
He said that.
It's the G19 app.
I mean, come on.
Keep it right next to your phone.
Anyway,
Yeah.
just you don't know when it's going to happen. You don't know where. Seriously, don't put it off. Trust me. My wife, when you get done with the class, you'll be like, "Holy smokes!" Like you'll feel good about it. You really will, because they'll teach you.
Yeah.
Well, it's just.
I don't want to say it exceeded my expectations, because that would be, but in all reality, like it more than met my expectations. Like I knew it was going to be good because, like I know the guy privately a little bit,
Sure.
and he's very, very cool, very helpful, very nice guy behind the scenes, especially just a real nice guy. And when you get there, he's cool, man. And besides all that, it's designed smart. There's some people say like a guy's like, oh, he's an asshole is the term that's pretty common, right? He even refers to himself that way sometimes, in all good sport. But I would call it a hard bristled intensity. If you had to like summarize the attitude of the training, it's hard bristled intensity. Sometimes you have to scrape off that crap that you don't know is on there, and you got to use the hard bristle brush. Does it feel great all the time? Not necessarily. But how good does it feel to get all that crap off and then like polish it up a little bit, right?
Sure.
And so for me, I recognize the value in that style of conveyance of information. And but when you look at the design of the training, it's pretty smart, man. I've not seen anything that takes that exact angle, and it's not like it's just thrown together a bunch of goofballs doing it. It's actually a pretty darn smart deal in terms of like the psychology, in terms of like anticipating how people learn, and the drills are structured in such a way to where like you're not just learning about how to shoot stuff. You're learning a lot of the majority of the stuff you learn is in between those deals. You'll learn a lot about yourself beyond just managing the gun.
Yeah. Those guys, how do I say it? They're hardcore. I mean, don't expect them to.
But they're really funny too.
Don't expect them to baby you. But
Yeah.
what do you think a creep's gonna do? I mean, come on, think about it. Would you rather deal with somebody that's being a little rough, or the way they're teaching you? Yeah, they're not babying you.
Well, and like for example, with me, my most treasured moments in the class. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh, go ahead.
But is when I'm holding the piece on day 2, and I'm like, okay, I got this, and I revert back to my old muscle memory because it's the first drill of day 2, and I get behind the pistol and I push it out there, and Tim comes up, he's like, Rex, your grip sucks.
Yeah.
And I'm like, my feelers, a little bit. But then I'm like, wow, I didn't realize that my grip sucks. Like, and how do you know? Like,
Reality.
and I thought it was good, but I have a different style of shooting before that like really hosed me over on having a death grip on the gun, gripping the hell out of it, right? And so when he said that, to me, like, that was very valuable and it was helpful. And he didn't say it because he doesn't like you. He says it because he loves you enough to make you not want to get killed because your gun didn't operate properly or whatever. You didn't train that way. I mean, the details are important. They accumulate. All the details and the little gaps and the little things that are wrong, they accumulate into this giant tolerance stacking kind of deal in terms of your competency with anything. And so, like, if you're a little sloppy over here, a little sloppy over here, eventually it creates enough total slop to where you might not come out on top. So and the details are important for reasons we might not even understand. Oh, I don't see, for example, I don't see why I need to hold it that tight. Well, there's like mechanical reasons, internal ballistics of the operation of the pistol. There's the psychological element of like what happens when your body's under adrenaline. You're going to be death gripping it anyways. You might as well train that way so that you can actually develop your muscle memory that way. And so in a lot of other reasons too. But for me, it was very important. I would much rather him say, and if they do it, here's the thing. In a fighting environment, at close quarters like that, right?
Yeah.
If and as tense as it can be, if they're trying to be sweet with you on it, unless you create a whole different atmosphere, for different skill sets you can do that. Like if you're trying to get guys to be super precise with the rifle, that's kind of, there's a different style of conveyance there. But when you're like in a like this close kind of situation and you need to pull out your pistol, like you have to be able to manage it under stress.
Man, the situation.
And they're not going to get that information into your brain if they're doing it real sweet and quiet.
Yeah, they stress you out because that's how they want you. They want you to learn how to react stressed out. That is their deal.
The volume is cranked up so that it gets into your brain, which is being protected by all this adrenaline. Like nothing's getting in here when you're under stress. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So you got to overdo it a little bit. That's why that happens. And then you'll remember it 10 times better too. So that was the treasure for me, was the few times where I was like out of whack with something, right? Or like when I kept yelling the wrong thing, like, fight, wait a minute, stop. That's not going to look good. So, getting corrected on that is helpful.
Yeah, you'll feel better after you take it. Great. I mean, you'll feel a lot better. At least you know what to work on, what to expect, what to do after the situation's over. Anyway.
Yeah, as a grand summary for me, like, I am a sweethearted, nice, like, thinking kind of guy, personality. That's my personality. Is very different than maybe what it seems like they're presenting with their style. And some of the guys who are really into what we're doing at Rex Defense and in the rifle training are like hesitant to think they could maybe take training from an outfit like that, because it seems kind of like it's hard bristled, man. It really is. But I'll tell you, even from my perspective, like it's totally worth it, especially if you have anxiety about it. That means that there's something that is there that needs to be corrected that a guy doesn't really want to admit. That's the reality, and that's what I found out for me too, man. But I thought that it was overall very helpful, very well thought out, and everything's done for a reason. And the hard bristled reality, and like if you ask a question, they're not going to jimmy around so much. They're going to just give you the straight up answer.
Yeah.
And so that's nice, because then you'll know.
Yeah.
So it's really about the trainee's attitude on how much they want to learn. If you go there thinking, I'm going to show everyone how cool I am, you're not going to learn as much as a guy who goes in there saying, I don't know what the hell's going on.
Yeah, like I think James says, like, are you paying me to teach me how to shoot a gun?
This is a one-way flow of information.
Yeah, just let them do it. You're a little nervous, might be a little uncomfortable, but to be somebody you've never been, you have to do something you've never done. So.
And here's another thing too, like for the guys who think they've trained a lot already,
sure.
You're the guys, because I've trained a lot in those same venues that you guys are talking about. Mm-hmm. You and me are the guys that need this training the most, because there's paradigms and there's walls we build up in our brains that need to be adjusted, or we need to we need to back off and get a bird's eye view of other things that we need to explore.
Sure.
Because like in the real world, there's stuff that happens that you're not going to be braced for, and you'll know when you take the class. I'm not going to tell you what it is, because you have to experience it. I can't tell you anything about it, and I can't rob you of the experience of, you know what I mean, going through the deal for yourself and learning about yourself and learning those little interesting things that you might have to wrestle with. But especially guys who are well trained. If you've taken if you had to qualify 4 times a year in whatever job you're in, or if you have to I already know that, I read the book, I was an instructor, especially if you're an instructor. A lot of guys, I'm an instructor already, I don't need that, I already know what I'm doing. That's an attitude that makes you not learn more. So I would strongly encourage guys to get past that, mature a little more and realize that, okay, in all our wisdom, there's always stuff we can learn. And I guarantee you'll learn something. 100% chance. Yeah.
Yep. Great.
Rock and roll.
Rock and roll. Out.
That's a good review, man.
Cool.
So if you get a chance, it's Tactical Response is the outfit to put on the fighting pistol class. And no matter who's teaching the course, I think that there's a pretty good command of making sure the curriculum is passed down in its unadulterated form. So it's not like it's going to vary in terms of curriculum from instructor to instructor. It's just the personalities will be different there.
Yeah.
So I would just recommend jumping in with both feet first, or head first, or whatever you want to call it, and just jumping into the water and getting it over with.
And they travel around. I don't know where exactly.
Check out the schedule. They got a website and all that
I
stuff.
don't think you just have to come to Tennessee.
Yeah, Tennessee's the home base, but if they travel around too. So next time they're in your area, if you can drive there, it's definitely worth it.
Yeah.
It's worth actually, and I'm not lying. It's worth every single penny, and if you don't think it is, they'll as far as what I understand, he will give you your money back.
Give you your money back.
But nobody gives their money back when they're done. So
super guys.
that's an unpaid, unscripted, actual reality of information. Then I don't feel like any kind of weird hidden loyalty either to just BS you guys. That's actually what I think after taking it.
Yeah.
It's pretty damn good.
Yep, reality.
Rock and roll, guys.
Take care.
We'll catch you on the next one, and you have a good day.